It's so wonderful to be here, and I am inspired by all the hard work and dedication to sustainability that I saw yesterday and that I've become aware of. I hope you're having a great time here at this event. I had a great time yesterday meeting some of you. It's amazing to imagine what the future can be if we continue to do some of the things that we saw yesterday. And I'm going to talk today about what Muse is doing to make big change happen for our students. Because we do something very radical at Muse. With our students, we listen to them. And I'm going to talk about that process. And because in most education systems, we don't listen to them. We tell them what to do. And the question that was led, what led you here today? What led me here today is to be able to create an educational platform that is inspiring, that works, that makes sense, and that fits every personality type so that students can be engaged. Because one of the radical things that we see at Muse is that students do not want to leave school. Now, how many of you at 2 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, at 8:15 were looking at your watch and saying, can I get out of here? When can I get out of here, right? Most of us. For those of you who don't have your hand up, you're lying, okay? But when you have an educational platform that is engaging, students don't want to leave. Students want to stay. And I'm going to walk you through our 5-pillar approach to this that creates this engagement and that ends with sustainability and a little bit of a request and challenge for you all. 2 things that are said about Muse School. One of my favorite quotes is by a parent. Most schools teach children to live in the world. Muse School teaches children how to change the world. Sir Ken Robinson says, Muse School is one of the only schools that's teaching children how to be prepared for the future that actually will exist. Now, how many of you have a child? How many of you know what these children look like? If you don't have one, yes, they're these little creatures. They vary in sizes and smells, right? The jobs that they're going to occupy in 5 to 10 years, they don't exist yet. We have an education system that's preparing them for things that will not exist. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how we at Muse are preparing students to be prepared for a future that we don't know what it's going to look like. Now, I'm going to start with a 2 or 3 minute video just to give you a little bit of vibe and the essence of what's going down in LA at our school. Is that okay with you guys? Yes? Fantastic. Anyone disagree with that or think that's a horrible idea? Yes, this man here, he's being cantankerous. Oh, I was supposed to put that up as the first slide. So this is the slide that was supposed to be up while I was talking. This is me. I should have, he introduced me, but one of the other things that I'm going to talk to you about is how we're going to make change on the global scale, and I'll end with that, with our Muse Global approach. Okay, here's the video. Go. That was the key word that I was supposed to say.
We recycle, we reduce, we reuse, we compost, we reserve water, we use solar panels, we use natural light, and yeah.
This school is absolutely a school of the future. I feel like we are light years ahead of the rest of the schools around here. Muse is completely different than any place I've ever worked before. Our pillars are very special compared to other schools, and so the kindergartners are not just learning their ABCs and how to write, but they're also learning about how to save the planet and what we can do to help make a difference.
We saved 9,066 gallons of water for one day.
A few years back, Muse School decided to go plant-based, and really, I mean, we're doing it for many different reasons, primarily for environmental reasons, to reduce the carbon footprint of each of the students and faculty that work here at Muse. So to help, basically to help nurture the earth as well as the person who's practicing the 1 meal a day diet.
We're not trying to push a diet on anyone. What we're saying is if you choose to eat 1 meal a day for the planet, you're going to reduce your carbon footprint by nearly 1,000 tons a year and your water footprint by nearly 200,000 gallons a year.
We wouldn't have like that much balance in the world if we didn't take care of the environment, and it could hurt a lot of animals and plants.
We have many environmental ways that we go about our educational process here at Muse. One of those is our Seed to Table program.
Between the two campuses, we grow about 300 different varieties of herbs, vegetables, and flowers. For a lot of students that we work with here, they've never seen, that a potato comes out of the ground, or that you actually cut a head of lettuce. People think that you just get it off the shelf at the grocery store.
So this bed right now belongs to a 3rd grade student whose passion is baking. And she kind of wanted to learn about the connection between the garden and baking. So we're focusing on 2 types of grains, wheat and corn. It's really fun for her to take ownership over her own garden bed and watch these plants growing so well.
We grow strawberries, I grow kale, we grow mint, we grow like this fluffy plant that's like really fluffy that I forget what it's called though.
But really with this program, students are driving it and they're involved in every aspect, from seeding to tending the plants to harvesting and then to preparing the food in the end.
The campuses are very eco. This campus is powered 90% by solar. All the electricity that the kitchen uses is 100% on solar. And so every day when our students walk into this beautiful campus, they're seeing solar, they can visualize it, and we have academic content where students are able to engage in a deck where the students can see how much solar that we produce today, and then how much that solar energy is reducing their water and carbon and coal footprint.
We're really lucky at Muse to be in the environment that we are. We're nestled in the Santa Monica Mountains. We have lots of wildlife around us. We have 2 garden beds. We're growing our own food, so the kids really get to experience what nature is, and we're not just inside all day. We're outside exploring, and we have kind of an outdoor classroom here.
Muse School is the future of education. You'll see Muse schools pop up and our philosophy pop up around the United States in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. What you saw there was a process that I like to refer to as being with the students and not to the students. And now what I want to do is I want to walk you through how we at Muse School want to create change makers and innovative thinkers of the future who can go out and put into practice ways to live in this world that they're inheriting. So, 5 pillars. One of the radical things about Muse in our 5-pillar approach is that they are all equal. Now, most schools, and most of the schools that we all went to, what was the number 1 priority? Academics, studying, homework, tests, stress, memorization. The interesting thing about all that is that we know now scientifically that that's not the way that students and adults learn. That's not the way they incorporate knowledge. That's not how they can make change. We know that stresses them out. We know that that does damage to them. So we've taken that out. And we've put all 5 of these pillars, and again, sustainability at Muse is just as important as academics. Our first pillar here is passion-based learning. What is passion-based learning? That means if you come to our school, and we start at the age of 2 and we go all the way up through 18. If you come to our school and you say that as a 3rd grader, I am really interested in motorcycles, guess what you're going to read about? Motorcycles. You really smart people in this front left corner over here. You're going to read about motorcycles. Guess what? How we're going to teach you about math? Through motorcycles. Guess how we're going to teach you history? Through motorcycles. Guess what? If you come and you say that my interest is surfing, which is a big deal in California, what are we going to teach? How are we going to teach you to read, write, and do math? Not through motorcycles, through surfing. So we take the student's passion, 2 years old, 10 years old, 17 years old, and we wrap the academic content around that passion, which eliminates the power struggle that students and teachers engage with on a daily basis because of a top-down approach that says, this is what you must read, this is how you must read it, this is how much time you must spend on it, versus saying, what's your passion? Now help me facilitate a way for you to academically keep up while you're studying motorcycles, surfing, baking, the stars, whatever your passion is. The passions are absolutely endless what students come up with. And one of the things that some of you may be asking yourself or may even ask me later when we do a little short Q&A, but I'm going to answer the question for you. What if my student or my child doesn't have a passion? Yeah, we hear that quite frequently. Well, guess what? When mom and dad leave the room and you listen to that child, guess what they have? A passion. When you don't listen to them, they don't have a passion. So our passion-based approach has this high level of engagement, and we don't power struggle with the students. They end each semester sharing their passions and doing a verbal presentation to the entire parent and student community on how they're keeping their academic content current and on par with grade level through their passion. So they're held accountable for this, and they know that they're going to be held accountable for this. Does that make sense? Then why are we not doing it? Interesting question. Academics, we have an individualized approach that we call the blueprint. The blueprint, we took our academic milestones and we created our own. We don't follow California state standard. We don't follow any national standards. We have our own academic standards, and they're per grade level. And here's what we do. If you're a third grader and you're reading at a fifth or sixth grade level, go on with your bad self. Just keep going. I like to say that we play a very sophisticated game of follow the leader, and guess who the leader is? The student. And so through our academic milestones, it doesn't matter. You might be a third grader and reading at a second grade level or doing math at a second grade level. It doesn't matter because we're going to play follow the leader, and you, the student, is the leader. Here's the interesting thing. Kids don't know that when they go from fourth to fifth grade, their brain is supposed to automatically be a fifth grader. They're biologically, they haven't understood that external clock that the traditional education system has put on them, right? So sometimes a fourth grader is just not ready for fourth grade, right? But then we try to make them be a fourth grader instead of inviting them to be who they are. Because sometimes a fourth grader is a sixth grader. What's next? PCM. We have an individualized approach through a tool that we call the process communication model. Here in France, you might have heard of it as called ProcessCom. We're teaching students how to assess, connect, and motivate with one another and with their parents, with their teachers, and we're teaching them how to resolve conflict with one another. Now, here's the thing that the PCM tool does for us, is it helps us teach specifically how students communicate in very different ways. So one of the things that happens at Muse School is the student, whether they're 2, 12, or 15, will say to the teacher, "This is how I want you to speak to me." Imagine a teacher saying that to you. Imagine a teacher engaging you and saying, and giving you the power and empowering you to say, how do you want me to connect with you? How do you want me to speak to you? Our students, through this tool, are taught how to not only advocate for themselves to their teachers and their parents, "This is how I want you to communicate with me," but they learn their preferred communication style. They also learn their preferred learning environment. And so based on this tool, there are 4 different learning environments. One of them is alone. One of them is one-on-one, one of them is small group, and one of them is a large group. And when you walk into a Muse classroom, students are choosing to differentiate and to choose their learning space to put their brain and their body in the best space that's available to them. And guess what? They choose it. The teacher does not choose this. The teacher is not in charge of this. At Muse School, you're not going to see rows and you're not going to see desks. Our teachers are facilitators, and they're facilitating the room. So the students are engaged in their passion. They're choosing their learning environment so that the students can go and put their bodies wherever they learn best. Now, some of you who might be educators in the room might be having panic attacks going, "Oh, that seems so hard," right? What would happen if you didn't have power struggles and you had engagement and you weren't forcing them to do things that they didn't want to do or their bodies weren't ready for? And what happens when you listen to kids, when you listen to students? Now they become engaged with you. Remember I said our philosophy is with, not to. Self-efficacy. Does anybody know what self-efficacy is? Yes? There's a few of you. Self-efficacy is the #1 predictor of success. It outpredicts IQ. It outpredicts the university that you go to. It outpredicts your wealth. It outpredicts the connection that you have in life. Self-efficacy is my belief in my ability to be successful. It's my belief in my capabilities. It's my belief in my abilities. And what happens is when students start to say things like, I can't, I don't know how, that won't work, they are starting to not have high efficacy. They're starting to not believe in themselves. They're starting to create a future for themselves that's in a box. And if we want to have change makers, and we want these students to go out and change the world and do things in the world that are going to have positive impact, they have to believe in themselves. And the content is irrelevant. So, for instance, if I have a second grader and they say, my passion is to build a plane to fly to the moon at Muse School, do you know what we say? Okay, how are you going to figure that out? Because we want them to fail. We know from a content perspective and we know from a scientific perspective that that's just not going to work, right? However, whose job is it for them to figure that failure out? It's theirs, it's not ours. And so we instill this sense of self-efficacy in our students by teaching them how to be open, resourceful, and persistent. I'm open to new ideas. I'm open to new perspectives. I'm open to hearing your feedback. I'm going to be resourceful, and I'm going to try different things. And when I fail, I'm going to look at it from a various ways of, I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to look at it through various lenses. I'm going to ask for feedback. I'm going to talk to my parents about it. I'm going to look at what resources I may not have used when I tried to accomplish this task. And then I'm going to be persistent. I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep going. And so at Muse School, if you walk around, you're going to see everywhere students talking about how they're open, resourceful, and persistent. And our parents get very upset with us sometimes because they say, will you stop teaching my student to be persistent? Because we say, it's bedtime, and they say, Mommy, will you please be open and be more persistent and let me stay up for another hour? But we want these students to believe in themselves. And right now, and you all probably know this, our current education system teaches students how to sit, how to get, and how to regurgitate. And it's irrelevant. The things that were happening up here yesterday came from someone's belief in their ability to make change. I've heard a couple of the speakers say yesterday, I know this is going to work. I'm going to stick to it till it does. We have big challenges ahead of us. We have battles ahead of us, and we're going to stick to it. Now, we need not a handful of people that are here at this conference. We need a world of people who have this efficacy about how to make cleaner water, how to create better solar energy, how to create a better mass transit system that you can access on your phone. That comes not through IQ and brain power, that comes through a sense of belief in oneself and their capabilities. Now let's talk about our final pillar, sustainability. Now, as I mentioned, all 5 of these pillars are equal. So academics are just as important as sustainability. Communication, teaching children how to assess, connect, and motivate is just as important as sustainability and academics and self-efficacy. They're all equal. Academics do not outweigh any one of these pillars. So when it comes to sustainability, we have very specific curriculum designed to teach children about how to reduce, reuse, repurpose, and educate. So our students are going home and saying, Mommy, why don't we have a compost? Daddy, why are you driving a truck or a car that uses so much gas? Mommy, how come we don't have a worm farm to get rid of our newspapers? So these students, you said that you knew what children look like, and you've seen these creatures walking amongst you, right? And what are they carrying when they're walking amongst you? And you know that they're carrying one of these because they bump into you, because they're not looking up, they're looking down, right? And what we call these is we call these digital natives. Does anybody know what this concept means? No? Digital natives means kids today do not know what it's like not to not have their cell phone attached to them. It is part of their being. It's part of who they are. It's part of their essence. It's just a part of them, right? And if you have a kid or you know a kid, go snatch it from them and see what happens. It's like you just took their arm, right? So this concept of digital natives is also an interesting discussion that people in education are having right now, but we won't get into that right. But I want to analogize that to what we're doing with sustainability. We're creating sustainability natives. So by the time you leave Muse School, it's going to be a part of your DNA to repurpose, to reuse, and to reduce your food, energy, and water resources. You're not going to have to think about it. You know, as a 45-year-old man, I have to think about using my cell phone, and that took me a while to get accustomed to because that was something new. That's not something I was born with, right? And as an adult, sustainability was not taught to me. It was something that I had to think about. It was something that I had to kind of learn to incorporate. So as these students leave Muse School, sustainability will be a part of them. Food, energy, and water, those precious resources and what to do with them will be a part of them. We have some students whose passions are different sustainability projects on how to make better use of their resources at home, at school. We're close to the ocean, so our students can go see the ocean and collect water and collect fish sometimes to see just how much plastic is in each piece of fish, right? Now, they mentioned that we're plant-based. We also eat fruits, so we're plant and fruit-based. Thank you for that. It was a little joke, but I'll stop telling jokes right now. Can I give you just a little bit of a gut punch? Every single piece of fish in the ocean has plastic in it. So when you sit down to your nice fish dinner, please know that you're eating plastic. And you're welcome. So how many of you, if I said to you, you could reduce your carbon and water footprint today very simply, how many of you would say, I'm in? Yes? Gosh, the whole room, that is so exciting. We are doing this at Muse. And this is something that again, I learned this, okay? So every student, every staff member, and every parent has an impact on their water and carbon footprint every single day. Do you want to know how? Yes, you raised your hand, but then it got to seriousness. Is he seriously going to tell us what to do? Yes, I am. And that is having one plant-based meal a day. Animal agriculture is one of the leading causes of climate change, and it's one of the leading causes of pollution in the world. And when you choose to eat one meal a day for the planet, you are drastically reducing your water and your carbon footprint. And at Muse School, through our sustainability pillar, every student takes this pledge, every parent takes this pledge, and every staff member takes this pledge. We didn't create Muse, we didn't create the school to be plant-based for diet. I'm completely okay if you are very unhealthy. I have a lot of unhealthy habits, right? We all do. I don't care about that. We don't care about your health. We don't care about your well-being. Sounds a little weird, but you know. We chose to be plant-based for environmental reasons only. And we're not trying to create vegans. And then he made a joke. He says, Jeff asked me to say plant-based versus vegan. We're not vegans. We don't use the word. We're not trying to convert people to veganism. We don't care what you eat for breakfast. We don't care what you eat for dinner. Well, we kind of do, but you know. What we want people to do, and we want students to learn at Muse, is if you eat one plant-based meal a day, you're going to dramatically impact your water and carbon footprint. And this is what we believe, and our founders, Susie and Rebecca Amos, what they believe is one of their biggest contributions to Muse schools around the world is if they can create a culture of students and parents and teachers that are eating one plant-based meal a day, and they can start to understand the impact of that one plant-based meal a day, then they can really start to shift the needle and start to move some things in this world that's struggling to figure out ways to incorporate sustainability practices. Now, like I said, all these are equal. Sustainability for us is just as important as academics. These 5 pillars are how we believe, how we think, how we know, and how we feel we can help students make real change in the world and prepare them for this future that doesn't even exist yet. And this is how we want to move the needle in helping our students take care of the world. Does that make sense? Yes? Does anyone hate that idea? That's good. I thought my gentleman that disagreed with me earlier would disagree, but he didn't, so we'll let him stay for a little while longer. So here's what we want to do. Here's our grand plan. I'd love to talk to you about it if you're interested. If you're not interested, I'd still love to talk to you about it. We are going to take Muse global. We're going to take Muse School global as of this summer. So what we are attempting to do is to start these types of schools all around the world. It's part of the reason I'm here in Paris and going to be out speaking about this at various places around the world, is we believe in not changing the system. We believe in creating a new system.